Hello knitters, Faye Lynn from Strand Knitting Studio in San Clemente, California. And I have the shawl, sweater classes, and yes, another tutorial, so stay tuned. Our kids, teens, knit and crochet camp is growing by a day for the summer. Usually we have it on Saturdays from 2 to 3:30, and we will still have it on Saturdays from 2 to 3:30. And we are adding Monday 10 to 11:30. And so everybody can come, anybody can come age-wise. I think we start more around the 6 or 7-year-olds, and then on up into the teens. And if they don't know how to knit or crochet, they will need to do a private first. We cannot teach a beginning person how to do these things in a class situation. So we always do a private first, and then they can come to class after that, and we'll be able to keep them going. So if you're interested in adding Mondays or Saturdays or both to your schedule, then give us a call and we'll get you signed up. All right, first class coming up is June 8th. June 8th, Sunday, 10 to 12. This is the second class for the shawl class. So that's how we're going to talk about it, because we're getting there. All right, so this is the shawl class. It's a 5-week, 5-class project. The classes are about 5 weeks apart. This one started a couple weeks ago, and you're knitting this whole first center section, all the stripe section, all the stripey section. So it's just striping and increasing, which is no big deal. And then this can be, these are little bobbles, and you can either do bobbles or you can just do yarn overs if you don't feel like doing bobbles. And that's it, but bobbles are cuter, but you can just do yarn overs. So that's, so yeah, so by June 10th, you want to be here, or you could start it on the 10th, and you'll just, maybe catch up with us. Who knows? So that's what this is. And yeah, we have quite a few people knitting this, and everybody's getting it down now. And so yeah, you learn all these different stitches. So if you wanted to do the blanket class, but it was overwhelming, it's like too much, this is your next choice, because it's only 5 classes. But you're learning a lot of different stitches and reading patterns. That's cables. This is a slip stitch pattern, or they call it mosaic, another lace. And then of course, striping and bobbles and increases. So you're also doing the increases down the center there. All right. So that class is June 8th, Saturday from 10 to, no. So that class is June 8th, Sunday from 10 to 12. And then the next class is the sweater class, which is June 14th, which is a Saturday from 12 to 2. And just a reminder, this is for starting a sweater or continuing on with a sweater you've already started. It's about getting your sweater started correctly. So you're coming with a swatch, cast on 30 stitches. The gauge thing may say 20 stitches equals 4 inches. We need our swatch to be bigger than 4 inches. So we need more like 6 inches. So cast on 30 stitches, and that's not gonna be 6 inches, but it'll be bigger than the 4. And that way we have 4 inches of clean, non-distorted stitches in the middle of the fabric. So cast on 30, knit a row, purl a row, and go for about 3 inches. And then, so you'll bring that in, you'll bring your pattern in, you'll bring a garment that you want it to fit like. So if it's the same shape or the length or it's mostly the ease. How much bigger than your body or not do you want this sweater to fit you? All right, so it's about the ease and how many stitches we're gonna get, because that's the biggest thing that determines what size we're gonna knit out of the pattern. So those are the things you're gonna come to class if you're actually starting a sweater. If you're already going on your sweater, you're just gonna come to class. So if you've got any sweater going, you can come to this class, and you need help, I'm there to help you. So that is June 14th from 12 to 2. Okay, and then I was also gonna talk about this one sweater I haven't talked about in a while, just as another idea. So we have this fuzzy, fabulous yarn in, I think it comes in like 4, maybe 5 colors. And this is alpaca wool nylon. It's gonna be a little hot for the summer coming up, but you still have to think ahead. If you want new sweaters by the fall, when are you gonna knit them, right? Good, yeah. So you can knit this now, knowing I probably won't wear it until who knows, but it'll be ready for you. When you are ready, it'll be ready for you. So this was on a size, I'm not sure what the sweater size is. This particular other one, gauge on a 9. I wish they would tell us what the size of the needles were that they did, but they didn't. So anyways, here's the one sweater. I think I have a pattern I can look at. Super simple. It is a rib, so it's like a knit one, purl one kind of thing, but very flat because you're on bigger needles, so you're probably at least on a 9. And that's what makes, even though it's a rib, it's laying flat instead of bunching together like a rib does. And yeah, so this is just a lovely sweater. It's alpaca, so it's lovely. It's lovely. The other version, if I did one, I'd probably do this as a cover up. So like a little shrug. And that's like the back of it. And that's the front of it. And this is on a size 9 with the yarn. Let me check and see if that pattern's over here. Yeah. So I don't know the exact needle size for the actual sweater, but it's going to be around a 9 because it's yeah, maybe an 8, but yeah. Okay, so that's another option for the sweater class. And then I have a crochet class coming up. Yay! So these are the coasters. So you saw me, I had these out the last couple of times. So here's the coasters. I got a set of them now. And they got the little beads on them. And then this is the holder for the coasters. Now I'm not completely happy with this because the edges are sort of, oh, and I have a weave in. The edges sort of fold down, and they're okay once the coasters are okay once the coasters are in. But I'd be happier if these edges were stiffer. They look stiffer in the picture, of course. So I'm not sure. I think another row would actually do really good if I just did another row would be great. And because then it's a little bit taller than the 4 of them. But there it is. There's your coasters in. There's the back of it. So yeah, so this is just curling down a little bit, and it's a little bit too floppy. That's what I want. It's too floppy. So I'm going to work on this. I'm going to work on the outside one and see what I can do to improve this, because it is a little floppy. But anyway, so if you know how to crochet, you got to know how to crochet. You got to be comfortable with your single crochets and double crochets and half double crochets. That's all it uses. Mostly this is all about knowing how to count and how to count the stitches around, making sure you're getting the right number in each little row, each round. So you can see there's this round. So there's a round, and then there's another round out here, and then another one, and then another one, and then the edging at the edge. All right, so you got to be, you're going to learn how to do this. I've got tricks to doing it, but the counting is what crochet, people say counting is, like, I find counting in crochet much more difficult than in knitting. It's really harder to see the stitches sometimes and really understand where they're supposed to go. Yeah, people say, no, it's easier, but not if you're making up a pattern, it's easier. And crochet is great to wing thing. You can wing a pattern. Crochet is great because if you screw it up, you just sort of pull it out and try it again, and you've got a loop, you put your hook in and off you go. So but actual patterning and from center out, that's where it's really hard. From center out, getting your stitch count correctly so that the circles are the right sizes going out. So that's what one thing is. I've got a couple, you gotta use pins. I got a couple tricks on that to help you keep your count and know where you're at. So that class, coaster class, is June 21st, Saturday from 12 to 2. Okay, so what's off my needle? The tutorial is gonna have to do with what I'm knitting currently. It's on my needle, not off my needle. So, and I'm using the Brittany in these multicolored, which I've shown you pictures of it, knit up. That's the color I'm using, which I'm really enjoying. This is the way it's knitting up. Okay, so now this is the top of my sweater. It's the peony sweater. I'll stick it up right here. And this is the top of my sweater. So up at the top, you have this lace thing. I'm too short here. You have this lace pattern right here that goes up at the top. And then, and then it's also at the bottom. So the new way of constructing that's coming out now that I'm seeing a lot of designers do is that you do the front like this. So this is all the way down to where the bottom of my sleeve would be, my armhole. That's the bottom of my armhole. That's how long I knitted for. This I let rest now. And now I'm gonna pick up the stitches, shoulder stitches here, which I have pinned. So they got me to put a pin. So these are my shoulder stitches. And I have to pick these all up along here. And then this is going to be my neck edge. Where's that pin? So that's the neck edge. And then this is the other shoulder. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick up these. And now this is here. You've just picked up stitches here. And now you're going to knit the back part. All right. So now you're going to knit the back part. And yeah. So now you're gonna knit the back part, and that seems to be really, really popular now. The things I think it does best is one, it's a pretty seamless seam. You don't have to bind off, you don't have to sew it up, you don't have to do a 3 needle bind off. You're just picking up stitches and your shoulders are together, and it's a gorgeous seam. You know, it's just like barely there. So that's the huge benefit for doing this. And when you're doing anything out of cottons and linens, they're heavier than wool. And so there's a lot of weight, and all the weight is being held by your shoulder seams. So pretty much you need some kind of shoulder seams usually if you're doing cottony stuff, unless it's raglan, because it's got a different structure to it. But yeah, so usually this would have been done in 2 rectangles, because basically 2 rectangles. So it would have been done in 2 rectangles, and then I would have sewn the shoulders together. And then I still have to, no, I'm not gonna have to sew anything together, because this is gonna go in the round for the body. So I would have had to do the shoulders. All right, so that's the tutorial. Now that I've talked all about that, I'm about to show you how you're gonna do that. And I just told you why, so we're good. This is my shoulder. So this is the front of my garment, and this is down to my armhole. And then I'm now got my stitches on. I just kept them on my needle, got another needle. And I am ready to pick up my stitches. Now you can always be looking at the right side of your fabric when you pick up any stitches on any garment, unless it tells you differently. And that's because as soon as you pick this up, this goes behind your needle, which means this seam is being pushed to the wrong side. So if I'm doing it here, my seam's gonna be pushed to the right side, and you'll see this little seam on your shoulder. So always, always, always looking at the right side of your fabric when you are picking up. And then you're going to be picking up the little beads that are along the top. This one, they're a little weird because it went immediately into lace. There was no row or 2 of just knit and purl or anything to set it up. It just went immediately in. So these are a little different looking, but the process is exactly the same. All right, so you're going to go in. There's holes here. There's holes underneath. And there's ladders also. Now, I don't want to go so far down into these holes that I actually get under the ladder. I want to just pick up the top 2 threads that are at the very, very top. And that's it. No ladders, just at the very, very top. All right, and then I'm going to take my yarn and find the right one here. All right, leave a tail 6 inches or so, because you got to weave it in. Okay, so leave your tail, and then you make your loop. You're going to loop it around your needle. You're holding onto both of the strings, and you're just going to pull it through. This hand is going to do all the work, really. And so you're going to pull. You can pull and everything to help the needle come through with the thread. All right. And then the other thing you want to do before we start this is, I've already got this pin here because the pattern told me where to put it. So I know that this is my shoulder seam and I have to sew this whole thing up. But this is a lot, that's long, and I've got to get 29 stitches. And you never quite know, especially with something like this, because I may have to fudge a few things, how, like, if I get to here and I only have 20 stitches, I have to start over again. So to keep that from happening, you go in half and put a pin. So now I know approximately I need 15 stitches by here and 15 or 14 stitches by here. All right, now if you need to do more stitches than what the pattern says, just to make it look better, it's gonna look better, then do more stitches or less stitches. And the first row that you knit after this, you can fix the stitch count. So if you put in 2 more stitches, you will take out those 2 stitches by knitting 2 together somewhere in the middle of the row. Not next to each other, because you'll see that. So you'll like knit 10 stitches, knit 2 together, knit 8 stitches, knit 2 together, knit to the end, and you get rid of your stitches for how many that you have to get rid of. All right, so we're picking up, and I'm just going into each of these little holes underneath here. So there's a hole right there. You just sort of go under the hole and then check and see what you've got. And I've got 2 there. So again, I'm gonna, oh my goodness. Okay. So I'm going to wrap it, and this hand is helping to pull it through. All right. So, and now this one's a bigger one, so it's sort of easier to see. So, but I'm still just going under this one and under this one. All right. Wrapping it, and then using this hand, pulling on it to pull it through. All right. And that's what it's at. That's 3 stitches. There's another V. There's 4 stitches, 5 stitches, 6 stitches. So you can just, like, it's easy to look up here, and you're putting your needle sort of close to the point end of the V here, all right, because that's sort of where the hole is. Or the other way to look at it is you go across, see that horizontal bar, and I just came out of here, so I'm going to go onto the other side of that bar and pick it up. That's probably the easiest one. I forget about that one. So there's my bar. So this is the hole I just was in. Here's my bar. So that means I got to go on the other side of the bar here, and there's a hole right here. All right, and I'm going to pick it up. Okay, again, across the bar, and just pick up the top 2. Make sure you only have the top 2. As I said, these are pretty big, so they're not quite so bad. But sometimes it can be confusing to see where you were and where you need to go. So again, the bar is the best. The bar, that bar, blue one right there, that's the best judge of where to go, because that's between all the stitches. Now here's a something and another. I can't remember what I probably knit 2 together, or SSK. And so it's a little different looking, but I can see that this is the one I went under, so I got to go under this one that has the blue and green, that one right there. And I got to get both sides of it. So make sure you also get both sides of it. It just gives it more structure. So the garment, your garment is resting on your shoulder. So the whole weight of your garment is on this shoulder seam. All right, and that's one reason it's good to do shoulder seams, because it gives structure, and especially when you're using linens and cottons, because they're weight-wise, they're a little bit heavier than wool. Is not as heavy as a cotton linen is, and they tend to stretch down. So there's a lot of weight right here. And so that's why you will almost always see some kind of seaming going on here, because it's structurally, it just is what is needed. All right, so I'm almost to my first pin. Let's see where I'm at. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's pretty perfect. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take this pin out. Okay, so I'm just went in there. So now I'm gonna go over under this little gray one. Okay, follow this over and pick up that one. Okay, so you're just gonna go ahead and keep doing this. And this is probably not the best one garment to show you this, because this does look pretty different on the edge here because of the lace. But the V's are the same. They're just a little bit elongated compared to what it normally looks like. And again, other thing is make sure that you rolled your edge, you're looking at the actual edge and you don't have it rolled one stitch in, and then you're looking like at this right here looks like the top. So that looks like the top, but really when you push that up, that's the top. All right, so make sure you've rolled your edge, no matter what you're picking up. Make sure you keep your edge rolled totally out so you can see what really is the top stitch and not just what it looks like. Okay, so I'm at the end here. So I'm gonna count my stitches: 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 28, 28, and 29. 1, 2. All right, there's my 29 stitches. Now, if you end up and you're not getting the count and you have to take it out and start on, first of all, taking it out, it's just a pickup row. So when you take it out, there's nothing to drop. You're back to your edge, and so just take it out. It's nothing. And then, but you're gonna have to take it out and also sort of eyeball, like maybe there's a place here I can get a stitch, because that's sort of a big gap right there. This was sort of a bigger gap. So see if you can see that, and I would take it out to here and then see if I can get a stitch in here, which I think I can, which would give me my right number if I don't have it. So first look for gaps like that okay, I can do that. But then again, if you've picked up everything and it's all good, and you don't have the exact number, you can't be way off. But if you're off by 1 or 2 stitches, you can fix that in the next row. All right, so, and this is how you would pick up a shoulder. Now, picking up stitches, depending on what you're picking up, there are ratios that you have to deal with. But when you're picking up stitch to stitch, I kind of bind up because I'm just continuing this is how many stitches there was here, and that's how many I'm going to have. So that these are every stitch. You just pick up every stitch. But when you're picking up like the sides of a sweater or a V-neck of a sweater, there's ratios like 4 to 3 where you pick up, or 3 to 4, you pick up 3 stitches and you skip a stitch. Pick up 3 stitches and you skip a stitch. And the other one for the V is a different, but anyways, and 3 to 2, maybe it's 3 to 2 and 4 to 3. But anyways, there's ratios that you do so that, because if you pick up all the stitches, it gets wavy. It puckers because stitches are longer than they are wide. All right, so if you're picking up along here, you're picking up the long direction, but when I'm picking it up, it's not going to be that. So I have to make adjustments for that. All right, and that is picking up stitches. Get your summer stuff going because we've got some good summer stuff to get going. I'm hoping that all that cotton comes in pretty quickly so we can do the coasters. That's why I pushed the coasters sort of back into June to make sure the yarn's in. So you have lots of colors to choose from. And yeah, don't forget about the Festival of Stitches. Still have time. And I guess that's it. And I will see you in the studio real soon. Bye.